Hi everyone, welcome to DIY Ideas. Today I'll show you what you need before you start with your sewing projects. First off, scissors. So fabric scissors are really important. Not any scissors will work because your fabric might get messed up and weird if you use the wrong type of scissors. So you have different ones. You can get fabric scissors that are completely out of metal, or you can get different ones. For example, you see here my plastic handles with the fabric scissors. So make sure you get a nice pair that you like and that you will use exclusively for your fabric, because when you cut paper or something else, they might get dull really quickly. So this is something that's pretty much a basic, because whenever you do a sewing project, you're gonna need to cut something and you want your scissors to be nice and not mess up the entire project as you work. So make sure you find something nice. There are also other scissors. I wanted to show you the zigzag as an example. So you can make the edges a lot nicer with this one, especially when you're a beginner, because it's easy to use. And these are also a very cool tool to stop fraying of your fabric. Another pair of scissors I'm also gonna mention are these little ones. So they're a bit easier to work with if I need to be preciser in my work. Of course, everyone has their favorite pair, so make sure you start with one nice pair and then everything else is pretty much optional. But just make sure you take a nice pair that you can use nicely and easily and that you're satisfied with. So now I also have a rolling cutter I wanted to show you, so you see what it looks like. It does the same thing as the scissors, so you just need to put something under the table or the desk so that you don't damage it when you cut. And basically when you go over your fabric with it, you get the same effect as with scissors. And then again, you have straight lines and very nice and precise pieces. So some of these cutters have a safety piece over the metal to prevent injuries, and some even have different cutters, so which means that you can change the way you're gonna cut your fabric, which is also a pretty cool option to have. Then we come to our pins. There are many different ones. They're actually pretty cheap, but if you can, don't buy the cheapest ones you find, because they very easily bend and you can't work with them nicely. Sometimes they are so dull that they make your fabric look weird and they make even bigger holes, or sometimes they can even break if the fabric is too sturdy or too thick for them. So it's always a bit better to buy a little bit better pins than the most cheap you can find. A nice pin cushion also secures that you never lose them, so that way they're gonna last you a really long time. So I definitely recommend not taking the cheapest ones if you can, and taking a cushion so that you can keep them all in one place. They're really gonna last you a long time, so it's also a good investment if you can afford it. Also, when we sew, we usually need to measure something, even calculate stuff, so I definitely recommend a hand gauge or a measuring tape. A ruler would work as well, pretty much whatever you prefer as long as you can measure with it. I like this particular one, the hand gauge, because it starts at 0, so that way it's a lot easier to work with. And you can maybe even notice that this one is a bit bent, looks used. This is because one time I ironed over it by accident, so I definitely say don't iron over it because it's gonna get weird like mine is. But apart from that, I am definitely going to highly recommend a hand gauge or even some measuring tape, which is also fine. Sometimes when you decide, so when you're not a complete beginner, then after some while you can even do your own clothes, and in that case you would need to take your own measures so that your clothes fit you, and using a ruler or something out of plastic might not work as well. So make sure you get a measuring tape or a hand gauge or something that works for you that you're going to be able to use. And you definitely need some thread, one of the most important things. If you decide to buy cheap thread, it might rip a bit easier, so you don't really want to risk that. If you're making your own clothes and your stitches are not really stable and sturdy, then you might be having issues you don't want to have. So make sure you buy something nice so that your stitches stay where they are, because sometimes when you wear clothes or even when you use different objects you did as your projects, your stitches can rip if the thread is really cheap. Another thing is also the unstitcher. Especially if you're a beginner, it happens that you do a stitch where you don't really want it. So something like this helps a lot. So you see here that it has this little pointy, almost needle-shaped piece on top. So that's basically what you use to get into the stitch. So you just kind of slowly get in there, and when you get inside the stitch and pull upwards, the midsection is actually what the sharp part is and what's gonna cut off and unstitch your stitches. You can also do really cool buttonholes with this, so it really helps when you work with that as well. And last but not least is a marker. I have a chalk in a pencil shape, but there are many different markers that you can use for marking your fabric. So these are mostly washable, so you won't see them when you're finished with your piece, and when you wash it the first time, pretty much all the marks should be gone. This is definitely going to be the case if you use what you're supposed to use. I've seen some people use pens and similar, but in that case you're risking having marks pretty much forever, so depending if the pin or the pen was washable or not. So I definitely recommend a really nice chalk or a pencil for your fabric. So anyway, this was it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know sometimes the basics might seem boring, but they are also very useful, especially for the very beginners that are interested in starting. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys had fun. If you would like to see more projects, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and that way stay updated with everything that we post. And I'll see you in our next video. Until then, have a wonderful day. Bye!